Welcome to Pomegranate Radio with your host, Jonathan Cook.
The Gift, Book 1 of the Chronicles of Tucker Littlefield by Tegon Maus. My longtime listeners know that I love Maus's novels. Maus is a gifted storyteller, a balls-out storyteller who never forgets that his job is to entertain his readers. Unlike, for example, Stephen King, George R.R. Martin. From the Dust Jacket, Tucker Littlefield is a liar, a thief, a con man. In an attempt to take advantage of a party thrown by the king, he becomes involved in a kidnapping, the king's niece, Elizabeth, to be exact. Because of his fear of the dark, as well as heights, and a good many other things, he finds himself stabbed and bleeding to death. To save him, a shaman for the Janda, Deneba, turns him into a soul bearer for the kindred. In an effort to find Lizzie, Littlefield finds the Nora instead, and their leader, Taki, a cannibalistic tribe that lives under a volcano that will leave no stone unturned to find Lizzie. Littlefield is blackmailed into her recovery. Will the help of his companion, Enon, help save Lizzie and themselves? This review is going to be a bit different from my usual reviews because, at this point, I don't have much new to say about Maus. What I've said in the past about his novels holds true for The Gift. Let's hit the highlights. The characters, always a strength in Maus's work, are fantastic. They are fun, they are vibrant, they are alive. They are quirky, but never so much that they lose their humanity as a result. Tucker deserves specific mention because he is probably the edgiest protagonist in a Maus novel. His cynicism is much sharper, and his cowardice, his desire to find the easiest path, is much more prevalent than ever before. That said, he does reveal himself over the novel to be much different from the man he presents himself to be, which I really liked. The plot is always moving forward. Something is always happening, and it is always advancing the story. Other authors could learn a thing or two from Maus. I'm talking to you, Georgie boy. The dialogue sparkles throughout. Maus clearly enjoyed writing for these characters, and even the walk-on, walk-off characters are given lines that are enjoyable to read. And I loved the interplay between Tucker and, well, virtually everyone else in this novel. One thing I should mention is that Maus completely sidestepped the faux Shakespearean dialect of so much fantasy writing. That stilted, unnatural manner of speaking that really does knock the reader out of the story. Most of all is the way the novel comes together. Put simply, it's fun. It's a terrific package that is a thoroughly enjoyable way of spending a few hours. And at currently 99 cents, it's a steal. Are there any flaws? Sort of. Maus does deal in cliches. The story really isn't anything new. We've read everything here in some form somewhere else. But to that, I say, the mark of a good storyteller is often how well he uses the cliches. There aren't really that many distinctly different plots. Some people have even said that there are as few as 10. Everything else is just a variation. Reading this novel, I never felt, oh god, another kidnapped princess, I'm not gonna read this crap. Instead, because Maus had fun with it, I had fun with it. And at the end of the day, I think that's what matters. All that said, I'll cut right to the chase. I award The Gift, The Chronicles of Tucker Littlefield, Book 1, 4 out of 5 stars. It is a thoroughly enjoyable novel all the way around, and yet another example of Maus's gifted storytelling. Now, before I close down, I do need to address one aspect of the novel. Let me say here that this aspect did not impact my review at all, which is why I'm only bringing it up now. The Gift is ostensibly a book of high fantasy. Problem is, it really won't satisfy fans of high fantasy for one reason: the lack of world building. High fantasy is a genre in which a world is created down to the most minute details. This is why most high fantasy novels are densely written tomes. Authors take great pleasure in explaining every little detail of the world and then returning to those details to demonstrate a consistency to the world. The Gift hits on all the right tropes: magic, royalty, politics, strange cultures, alien customs, invented language. But it all does feel like Maus is checking off boxes on a list of things he needed to include. Part of that is due to the fact that Maus does not write long novels. I don't think any of his novels exceeds 200 pages. That is simply not enough room to build a living, breathing world and have a substantive plot. Now, was this an issue for me? Not in the least. Part of the reason I generally don't like high fantasy is the amount of time spent world building. I can take a little bit, but eventually, you're just ignoring the plot. I'm talking to you, Bobby J. As I said, I thoroughly enjoyed The Gift and strongly recommend it to anyone looking for a solid read. This is Jonathan for Pomegranate Radio, saying thank you for listening. You've been beautiful. Have a good night.
Pomegranate.